Because I was saying that you have to be. Before we start, nowadays people are really interested in learning things in shortcut without putting the effort in. They just want to see the results in instants. If you're here with the same intention and mindset, I would advise you to leave right now, because in this video I will not share any shortcut nor any potion that will give you result in instants. Thank you. Speaking English like a native speaker might sound incredibly challenging, and especially for someone like me, it's gonna be even more hard. And finding a practice partner is also a challenging thing to do, because you might not be comfortable with everyone, and so it's gonna be hard for you to practice regularly if you don't feel comfortable. But fear not, my friend. Today I'm gonna share some tips and tricks to practice with your own self and improve your English. First thing first, let's face the truth. Becoming a fluent speaker overnight is as likely as finding a unicorn in your backyard. It takes consistent practice day after day, day after day. And it takes dedication. You have to embrace the process and understand that improvement comes gradually. And it's impossible to stumble upon fluency by accident. So make consistency your best friend and stick to your practice routine. Trust me, results will start to show up. So here's a fun fact about me. When I started learning English and speaking with my friends, I spoke like this.
You are a two boy is a tea gach is a sitting the gach.
No, really. You might be thinking that I'm exaggerating what I'm saying, but you can ask my friends about this. But to be honest, sometimes I intentionally made a fool out of myself just to keep my friends entertained and keep the conversation going. And the purpose of that was to keep them entertained and keep the learning going. Speaking of enjoyment, that brings us to our second point, which is enjoying what we're doing. And when I say enjoy, I don't mean you have to bounce off a wall like a hyperactive kid. I mean that you should have an internal inclination and attraction toward learning. You shouldn't need someone to push you to get started, which means you have to be self-motivated about what you're learning. And this applies to all kind of learning in this world. It could be any language except English. So it doesn't matter. What matters is you have to be self-motivated and keep the learning going. Let's take a step back and share a small thing with you guys. Whenever we see something on YouTube, I personally, when I see something on YouTube to learn, I forget the first minute when I start the second one. So it happens to most of us. In case it happened to you just now, I'm gonna recap what I already told you. So the first thing, you have to be consistent and practice to improve your English gradually. And the second thing, you have to enjoy what you're doing. You have to try to be self-motivated. Next up, number 3, which is speaking without overthinking the grammar. And by most people, it is the hardest thing to do. Most people tell me, I don't know what to do. I tried, I couldn't do it. I couldn't speak without overthinking the grammar of what I'm saying. So if you're someone who has the same problem, fear not, I have a solution for you. To speak without thinking, we have to focus on listening more than speaking. And which brings us to our point number 4, which is listening. Now you might say that you can improve by watching movies or listening to podcasts. To be honest, when you are starting, watching movies and podcasts doesn't really help, because in movies and podcasts they speak lightning fast, and most of the time they use local accent, which is very hard to understand for beginners. So instead, what you can do is find some educational animated documentaries and start to watch them. And if you do that, you are going to enhance your listening, and you are going to correct the common mistakes that you make when you are speaking. The solution of listening is to find a good series of documentaries that suit you best and stick to listening those on a daily basis. And my honest advice, don't watch movies or podcasts to improve your English. That doesn't work even a percent. I mean, it didn't work for me. I don't know if it would for you. So you have to decide what are you gonna do. About listening to native speakers when you're starting English speaking, it is really kind of a secret sauce. Because when I started to speak English, I used to do an Arabic course with Ustad Numan Ali Khan. I'm a big fan of his. If you know him, you know him. If you don't know, you don't know. You can look him up. His name is Ustad Numan Ali Khan. So he had a course of Arabic grammar, and I took the course, and it was full in English, and I had to watch over 1,000 hours. Maybe I couldn't even count. Like, it was obviously over 1,000 hours of class, and I had to go through all of them to get to the point where I'm now. And that really helped to enhance my listening and correcting the common mistakes or the pronunciation mistake that I make when I'm speaking. So you have to focus on listening so that you can improve your pronunciation and speaking without thinking. So for number 5, we are going to talk about a very, very, very common thing that we know, but we don't really use that in our benefit, which is speaking to your mind. Yes, I'm not kidding. So when we wake up and till we go to bed, we speak with ourselves. I don't know, I can't count. I mean, you speak to yourself all the time. So why not speak to yourself and speak in English? I mean, think about this. When you're speaking to yourself, you're already speaking whatever language you speak. But if you are trying to speak with yourself in English, which is going to help you to speak with someone, but it's not an external partner, it's your brain. I do that all the time because, I mean, when I started, I didn't have really friends to speak with all the time, but I needed to improve my English. So what I did is that from waking up to going to my bed, I always spoke to myself in English, and I do it even now. And I don't really know how I, programmed myself to do it, but I somehow did it. Don't ask me how. And if you're interested about speaking to yourself thing, then just let me know in the comments. I'm gonna make a separate video about it. It's a very long topic. And here's the grand finale. No matter how much you try to improve your English just by speaking to yourself or just by practicing by yourself, you are probably not gonna see the 100% results, because language is about communicating with other human beings. So the purpose of language is to communicate with other people rather than only you. And if you just try to improve your communication skill or speaking skill without partner, it's not gonna really work. So the best thing you can do is find someone and go speak to them. It doesn't have to be your friend, it doesn't have to be someone you know, it could be a random person. Just go and start speaking in English. I mean, it was really hard for me because sometimes people think, oh my god, like he's trying to show off or something. Speaking English in public is not really common in Bangladesh. So sometimes it was hard for me to speak in public, but I never thought of what people are thinking about me. I just focused on improving what I am now. And that what really paid off, and here I am sharing my learning tips with you. So that was it for today. Hey, before we go, it's really hard to explain everything in one video, so I'm gonna make a series of videos in next few days. If you're interested, just stick around. I don't know.